So now we are in our Chalk Talk with Miss Elena. Just to give you a quick breakdown of how this is going to run, Miss Elena is going to be broken into 4 quarters since we are in sports entertainment. First quarter is going to be our preseason, which will be just a brief introduction. Second quarter will be the training days, which will be your early career path in high school and college years. Third quarter is going to be your current role today at Ortho Carolina and what that looks like. And then we're going to finish off in the playoffs. Since you were top 100 point guard, we need you to come in the clutch and end us off with some career advice. May I have you go into your name, where you're from, and where you work, and then what is one aspect of sports that you appreciate the most?
For sure. So my name is Elena Kacan. I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio, and I went to Appalachian State University, and I currently work at Ortho Carolina as a field marketer. One thing I love most about working in sports, or I guess being sports adjacent, is the community that we're able to build. I've always been an athlete, so that community and connection that you feel in the sports world has been one of my favorite things. So getting to work closely for a brand who supports sports and athletic, we get to create that experience for other people. So engaging with the community, building community, and creating a really memorable experience is one of my favorite parts.
And going back into your point about how sports can be a community builder and just connective across many industries, when you were younger in your early career path, what did you initially want to do?
When I was younger, I wanted to be a vet, but I fell off a horse one year at summer camp and that desire faded quickly. But when I was in high school, I got into broadcasting class because someone told me that I might be good at it. So I started with like morning announcements and things like that and fell in love with the idea of becoming a sportscaster. So that was kind of more realistic. And I played sports a bunch, so I figured it would be an obvious fit at the time.
Who or what gave you your first break into the sports industry?
Outside of media class in high school, my first break was at App State, Appalachian State, working for the radio station. Shout out WASU. I became friends with the guys who did the sports broadcasts, and it was totally like student run, so that was awesome. And I started recording sports updates and spots. And eventually worked my way into sidelines for the football games and basketball games. So my first real job was kind of getting to give real life updates and sharing what the vibe was on the field or the court, and providing some insight for the listeners. So I will always be grateful for that experience. It was such good practice for me. And I originally wanted to be on camera, but then I went the radio route and took it from there. So that was my first big break.
Absolutely. And growing up, I feel like there's a lot of uncertainty, especially in sports, because there's no real like set destination to get to or a pipeline, especially for women in sports. So who's like an influential person or experience that you had that kind of molded you and motivated you to continue this sports journey?
Just being a woman in sports, there weren't that many from the get-go. So I was one of the only on the team in college. So I looked up to a lot of the guys that I worked with just kind of to try to navigate that space. One of my idols was Carissa Thompson. She did TV and she was on SportsCenter at the time. And she just kind of gave me that confidence, like, yes, women can do this. And then I ended up getting a sports radio internship with IMG, and I was one of the only women there. So just trying to navigate being the only female there, but like taking as much advice as I could from other women in the industry really helped, and just kind of expanded my experience.
What was like the hardest thing or the biggest obstacle that you had to overcome throughout that process of just continuously going after your dreams and potentially being a sports broadcaster? What was the hardest thing you had to overcome?
The hardest thing I had to overcome, I mean, it was a little tough being the only female in a lot of different rooms because it just kind of added some different perspective and kind of allowed me to speak up and share my experience and share my perspective, which I thought gave me some good practice. So it wasn't necessarily hard, but yeah, I think just going throughout my journey, like learning what I do and do not want to do, all of this experience kind of led me to where I am now. So I was able to kind of pick apart the pieces that I really liked about certain jobs and then kind of apply that to my next endeavor, which is nice. And it just kind of goes to show that not everything is linear and not everything is a straight path. I've made lots of zigs and zags throughout my career, but that was probably the toughest part, is thinking that you know what you want to do and then realizing it might be something totally different.
Absolutely, and that kind of transitions us into the next point, which is our third quarter with the regular season. This is your day-to-day at Ortho Carolina today. So if a student were to shadow you for a day, what would they see you be doing on your day-to-day?
Sure. A day in the life for me consists of a lot of email collaboration, to be honest, and setting up meetings. So trying to manage my calendar and meet with a lot of our partners. So one of my jobs as a field marketer is managing partnership relationships. So we work with the Panthers, UNCC, Davidson, and various other schools, various other organizations. And we probably work with 50% sports partners, 50% traditional media and community partners, so it varies. But as a sponsor, my job is to make sure that they have a good understanding of what we want to accomplish while working with them. So not only do we want to get our name out there and brand awareness, but we love collaborating and figuring out new ways to kind of engage with their audience and just kind of pushing the envelope, getting super creative, which is really fun. And I get to attend a lot of events and I get to be a part of a lot of really cool conversations. So if you followed me for a day, you'd get to see a little bit of a sneak peek of that.
Okay, gotcha. So you just spoke of creativity being a piece of your job that you appreciate and that is satisfying. So what are two other aspects of your job that you would say are satisfying as well?
Yeah, I love the relationship building aspect that I was just referring to. We just meet with so many awesome organizations who are really passionate about bettering the community, and hearing their ideas is the most fun thing because we can come up with ways together to kind of integrate both of our missions and just create a really cool campaign or a really cool project that really benefits the community, which is awesome. And then the creativity part, like I mentioned, when you work with a brand who's heavily involved in sports partnerships, like I said, you get a chance to kind of put yourself in a fan's shoes. So what would I want to see if I were at the game? What would I want to experience from this brand? So social media contests, giveaways, cool campaigns around physical fitness are all some really cool ways that we can kind of integrate with other groups. And it just feels natural. So that's probably two of my favorite parts there.
So with that, what is the skill that has helped you sustain and continue your success in your sports career?
One skill that I lean on a lot is the ability to communicate effectively. Learning how to be direct and confident and efficient. Working in sports is a fast-paced environment. There's always something going on and super exciting. So learning how to interact with people in a positive way, and if you stay passionate and have a positive attitude, you can really be successful, I think. And it's kind of got me where I am today, just asking engaging questions, learning how to keep a conversation going, soaking up as much information as you can. That way you have as much ammo in your next move.
Absolutely. And ending it off, fourth quarter, we're in the playoffs, so we need some of your high school basketball skills to lock us in for the championship. So ending off with some career advice for the high school students. If you were to go back and tell your high school self one piece of advice, what would you tell yourself?
Yeah, if I could go back and give myself one piece of advice, it would probably be just to lean in and invest in myself and take opportunities as they come. Even if it sounds remotely interesting, take it. I tried to do the best that I could, but it's always a good reminder to take chances and allow every opportunity that you get to lead you into something better. So even if it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do at the time, I was still able to make connections. I learned more about myself and I kept moving forward. So trust your gut, take an opportunity. I say yes to everything. So that's, I think, helped me in my career. And so that's what I would advise for you guys, because you never know where it might lead you.
Absolutely. One more question for you that I had in regards to our conversation earlier of you being primarily the only women in a lot of different settings. So what advice would you have for a young woman who's watching this that wants to be in your shoes today but doesn't exactly know how to deal with that, being in that setting? What advice would you have for her?
I would say you have to start somewhere. So start building some skills that are transferable. So communication, like I mentioned, sales is a great way to do that. Marketing, social media, whatever it is you want to do, you have tons of resources. So use them to your advantage. Meet people, network. I think that's the biggest piece for me, is just finding people who do what you want to do and kind of picking their brain a little bit. Understand why they got into what they wanted to do and kind of go from there. But ask questions and utilize those resources and build connections, because that's where I think you get the most applicable advice and inside look and feel of professionals in this industry, because it's not all just working for a team. I never knew that my position existed when I was younger. So just kind of inquire and be curious and build connection, because I think that's the best part about what we do.
Absolutely, and I can definitely attest to that through this experience in itself. Through my career as well, I've gained some pretty well connections. So I definitely look forward to cultivating those and using those going forward. And especially with you, Elena, I want to thank you for joining us on our Chalk Talk. It was definitely insightful. I definitely feel like the high school students are really going to enjoy this content that we just produced. High school students, campers, be on the lookout for more content. We have a lot more interesting people, such as Elena, in sports and entertainment, guys. Be on the lookout for more. We have a lot more coming for you. And we are officially out. Peace.
Thank you.